know you talk about mind, body, soul. What are some things that you do specifically for your mind, body, and soul that you think other folks could start to implement in their lives to start to build that self-esteem for themselves?
You know, what I teach, Josh, is exactly what I use to save myself,
Mm,
which is amazing about the work is that not only is it what I taught or used myself, it's what I use and practice every single day also.
mhm.
So when people ask, like, what do you do? And I'm like, this is what I do. And this is also what I teach. I'm not hiding anything. I don't sell products. I just show you this way. And by doing these habits habitually, without compromise, non negotiably, consistently, with dedication, with purpose, your freaking life can change like that. So for me, it's having a wake up time that doesn't change, right? For sure, my alarm is set for 3:45, but like I said, sometimes it's 2 a.m. and I'm wired and I'm ready to go. Okay,
Wow.
we're going. I immediately get up and I'm just thinking alone in my head, thanking God, thanking the higher power, whatever, the creator, the something for giving me another day and how excited I am to be alive. Like I said, every day is Christmas morning. I
Yeah.
immediately get into a stretching routine right after that. Start moving my body. A lot of downward dog, up dog, a little bit of animal flow yoga kind of stuff, a lot of thoracic twists, runner's lunge, crescent lunges, but definitely moving. A lot of early morning mobility. I'm a big believer in that because we've been static while we're asleep, even though it's, me, I usually only sleep 5-6 hours a night, happily, by the way, not unhappily.
Okay.
We're static. We've been prone. The body doesn't want to just get up and sit down. Like right now, I'm actually sitting, and that's kind of abnormal for me. I'm at a stand-up desk and a draft stool, but I usually stand all day long. I rarely sit down during the day from the time that I wake up because we are bipeds. We are meant to be moving. We are meant to be standing. We are not meant to be sedentary. Like furniture, the development of things, ergonomical equipment and whatnot was developed, yes, and there are benefits to that, but we naturally as humans are bipeds and we're meant to travel and be this way. So waking up first thing in the morning, I immediately get up and I'm just stretching, moving, go right from that into writing my thoughts,
Yeah.
reflections on the night before, the day before, letting out any strange feelings or doubts or worries, literally verbalizing them sometimes as I write. Sometimes it'll be passages from a book. I might take 30 days and write passages from a book every single day for 30 days. I've done that a lot this past year. I love this John Wooden, former coach of UCLA. I love his leadership book, and I've taken passages from that and written about that because it's about being a man. It's about being a leader. It's about being a person of character and having quality thoughts and congruency with your conscience and acting that way through life. And he was just deep, man. He was almost like stoic in his coaching system, and I very much align with that. And so I write these things. Why? Because our thoughts are things. And so for me, it's like I'm hammering it into my mind. I'm hammering it into my hands, the repetition, the mechanical kind of old school thing of writing, not doing an iPhone note, but taking out a freaking pen and having to write it, right? And having to get down there. Why also? Because it requires presence.
Yeah.
It's hard to write not looking at the paper,
Right.
right? I mean, I'm not that good at doing this. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you
No, that's,
are, but that's
man.
tough for me. So the presence that's required for all those things, right? Doing the yoga and the animal flow in the morning. I mean, you start getting inverted, like you better be paying attention or you're
Gotta
going
be
to
focused.
fall,
Yeah.
right? So it's immediate requirements of presence as opposed to surrendering that to a device
Yeah.
or something else that I know is not going to truly serve me or that can wait, right? The difference between urgent and important, right? You start reading books like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, like they talk about urgency versus importance and understanding the quadrant to where some things are urgent, not important, vice versa. There's only that one quadrant where they're both.
Yeah.
Most people, what they think is urgent or rather important and urgent, it's really not either.
Yeah.
It's certainly not urgent. And arguably half the time it's not even important.
Yeah.
This stuff is important.
Yeah.
Doing it first thing in the morning. You start every day with a clean slate, green grass in front of you, blank pages to write on, pun intended. And it's like, why not put some quality sustenance into those pages? Some physical and spiritual nutrition is what I call it.
Yeah.
So between the reading, the writing, the movement, and then for sure meditation, always, whether it's 5 minutes or I did 45 minutes the other day. It was so cool. My longest one ever. And then for me is the exercise. Most people, it's like roll out of bed, head straight to the gym. And I used to be that way.
Yeah.
But now by putting this process together of deep, introspective, reflective, presence required work, it's like the ultimate primer, dude, because the gym's going to be there. It can wait. But like by putting these like badges on before that even happens, before the waking world is even thinking about freaking getting up, like I've already done pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And it's like that peace and quiet in the morning when there's nobody else awake. I know it's
Yep.
literally the circadian rhythms like witching hour between 2 and 4 a.m., which is funny because if you're out between 2 and 4 a.m., it's like, oh, nothing's ever going to happen after 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're up,
Uh,
then it's a different thing. And it's like having the world to yourself. So there's a different kind of silence because you've got more oxygen to breathe. You've got more ether at your leisure because other people are sleeping and resting. And I remember seeing that in New York when I used to get up early there too. I'd look out of my apartment window into the Manhattan skyline and all the lights would be off. And then
man.
there's mine, on in the building. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, this is cool, man. And then
Yeah.
I go for a run out there and I'm running through New York City, running in Columbus Circle and Times Square and Washington Square Park alone. You don't do that. It almost feels unnatural, but to be in those places alone, I'm telling you, there is power.
Yeah.
And when you start combining all these things, you're talking about a serious snowballing effect of confidence, of self-love, of individuality, and ultimately the road of self-mastery. That's how you start paving it.
Yeah.
And notice exercise has only been mentioned once.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. It's a part of it, but it is the least, in my opinion, important part of it all.
100%. And you mentioned this, it's almost like you're anchoring the day, right? I got this Kobe Bryant book behind me. He talked
I
about
saw it. I saw it, man. I saw that mama
he,
mentality, dude. Absolutely.
he said, man, I never left the house without meditation. He said, because it felt like you were able to anchor the day. If he didn't get meditation in, he always felt like he was chasing the day. But not only that, you talked about being alone, spending time with yourself. What I've realized, very rarely do many folks get silent time. No noise, no phone,
Exactly.
no electronics. It's like you're alone by yourself and like really get to hear your thoughts. And you said self-love, and that comes with being alone and like really understanding those thoughts that you're having and getting it down. And that's what self-esteem is all about. But most people I think, are kind of nervous and scared about the reality that they're in, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I mean, how everything today is about dependency and tethering. It's almost weird to be alone. It's almost frowned upon or it's taboo. Right. I remember talking to a girlfriend a couple of years ago or last year. She was about to run her first half marathon. I was so proud of her. We were just kind of talking about some training prep and mindset and da 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 da. And I was like, I got a challenge for you to do. She's like, all right, you know what? I'm excited. I was like, I want you to go on your next training run with no music, no headphones. And she was like, oh God. I mean, it might as well have been that I turned into a werewolf in front of her. The fear. It was palpable, man, for her to think about how am I going to do that? And the first answers were, I can't. And I was just like, oh God, you've come so far to say that, like you've made so much progress to say I can't because of that. And that's how we are, man. That's how most of the world is wired now. It's all about share, need, company. It's okay to have private moments. You need them too. We all need that. It's not has to be, hey Josh, come on, let's go together. Like, dude, go do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. Like if we're in a relationship, whoever needs the other one more is going to lose.
Yeah.
Straight up. If you aren't confident, happy, and together here first, you're never going to be confident, happy, and together with a mate. That's for damn sure. And if they're the same way, like you've got nothing but toxicity and volatility waiting for you.
100%.
And no amount of great sex is going to keep that together. I assure you.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is today, right? And like the more I've leaned into this singularity as needed, the better I've felt. The more life has responded to me, right? Because life is not as we perceive it. Life is as we are. So I have the comparison of when I was doing it this way, this is how life was. This is how I felt, and it was not good. And now that I'm doing it this way for this extended period of time, boy, a lot seems to have changed. Has the world suddenly started to not be against me as I was cursing it for so many years that it was? Nobody likes me. I can't hang out with people. It's everybody's fault. I hate you. Mad. Dude, it was right here the whole time. And now by prioritizing the self-care, the self-love, the leadership principles, right? Maintaining discipline, choosing purpose over pleasure, living with conscience congruence. When you finally learn to live in congruence with your conscience and really be in the right alignment with what you feel from inside, the world will give itself to you. People will come to, I mean, like how you said earlier, how quickly I responded. I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, let's talk. Sometimes there's weeks of waiting for people like, I had another show sign me up for like July. And they're like, yeah, we'll book you July 6th. I was like, dude, I might be dead, like go for it. He's like, hey, how's July 6th work for you? I was like, let me check my schedule. But yeah, sure, man. That'll And it makes me laugh. Like, my brother's an attorney, and during 2020, the court dockets all over the country got really,
Yeah.
really backed up. And he works in immigration court, so he's got federal courts to deal with as well. And he said he got a continuance one time for a client, and it was like, this is in 2020, and they're like, "How's August of 2022 work for you?" And he said the same. He's retelling the same story. He's like, "Yeah, that should be fine. I'll have
It
my
should be.
secretary check the date." And my brother's like, "I might not even be an attorney anymore." Like, yeah, whatever. But to the point about isolation, the greatest Stoics,
Yeah.
some of the greatest thinkers, enlightened minds in the world, thought leaders have all used three things almost exclusively: prolonged fasting,
Yep.
extended treks, and isolation in order to find and promote personal growth, self-mastery, and development. Why? Because you can't freaking hear the voice of God, your inner voice, the voice of the universe, the talk that happens at these really high vibrations and frequencies that you can't freaking hear when you're digitaled up. They won't come into you. Your brain is not able to compute and receive. You're not at the right vibration yourself. You're not able to understand these frequencies because you got too much material convoluting your thoughts in your head. You have to, a la 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. Doesn't matter whether it's the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, like all books of theology talk about this, some type of prophetic, messianic entity or deity that goes off in these treks. And they do that because that's how they're going to get themselves to be able to speak to their higher powers.
Yeah.
It's not magic. It's understanding the system, understanding how the world works, and that all the unnatural and human kind of elements that we live with, I mean, even the technology that's providing our means right now,
Right.
there's got to be an ebb and flow to it, right? How we use it and how we can lessen how much it uses of us.
Yes. It's crazy. You talk about Stoics and reading like Marcus Aurelius's
Oh, dude, meditations.
and how great of a thinker he was. Yep.
I mean, this is a salty book, dude.
Well, I
This thing is beaten up, man.
Man, I'm just so impressed by how great of a thinker he was and how a lot of those concepts are still relevant today and they'll forever be relevant. And it's like, wow, if we had the power to just be alone with our own thoughts and write in our journals, how amazing would our thoughts be?
Exactly. That's how you foster creativity. And that's what I've done. That's what I use. Reading books about, let's say, Nelson Mandela or Anwar Sadat, right? Viktor Frankl and John McCain, people that were in prison in these terrible places, yet maintained resolve, prosperity, optimism, belief, faith, whatever. Viktor Frankl talking about, the last human freedom being the way you choose to perceive something. And for him, it was, concentration camp, Holocaust survivor, and choosing to decide how he let what was happening to him affect his mind.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing he can do about getting raped and fucked with physically and mentally and the horrors that he was seeing. There's nothing he could do about that. But they couldn't take his mind away. As much as they destroyed his body and tried to destroy him, he realized, like, I can think my way to a different place. Because again, our thoughts are things. Mandela and Sadat, both of them became masters of their cells.
Yeah.
And by becoming masters of their cells, they became masters of themselves.
Yeah.
And they both talk about that, like the knowns versus the unknowns, the what I can control and what I can't control, to where prison is such a paradox. Because you look at some monks throughout the world, even old indigenous tribes, and again, the mentionings of the peoples that I've talked about using isolation to their ultimate benefit and power. Yet in our prison system or throughout the world, isolation is one of the ultimate punishments.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to think, like, here we are, I use isolation all the time to foster creativity, to evoke better understanding of myself. And by doing that, I'm better able to serve the people that I work with. Yet there are people all over the world, and so many in the United States, that are stuck in the hole, stuck in the shoe, that are staring at a wall 23 hours a day with no sunlight, and like, that is the ultimate punishment. And here we are tapping into that for benefit. Like, why is that the way it is, and to think that that's the ultimate punishment, but to others it's the ultimate liberation. Crazy, no?
Right. I mean, you talk about perspective, the power of it. Marcus Aurelius, he mentioned something called amar fati, right? Embracing challenges, embracing hardship, embracing obstacles, knowing that somehow, some way, this will benefit me in the future. I will be better for this, good or bad, no matter what. I love it, and I know that it will be in my favor a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever the case may be.
Oh yeah.